My name is Betty Fink. I'm the designer at Midwest Design Imports, and I'm going to show you how to make an indoor fairy garden today. I like to select a low, shallow container. That way you can see all the parts in it. You'll need to figure out where you want to put this in your home as far as the space is concerned. I put foam from any craft store into this container. I like to keep it below the container. That way you can bring up your moss and all your pieces inside, and you can turn it as you go to do your design. Next, you will want to select your product that you want to put in it, and I'm going to show you what I have selected here. I may or may not use it all, but I have an arch with a gate on it. I've got a wraparound tree piece, garden bench, a bird bath, a bird cage, a little watering can, and a little wheelbarrow. And then I selected 2 fairies to put in the garden. I also have some little bees, little artificial bees, butterflies that are real tiny and delicate, and some little tiny birds. Then I purchased greenery to make my trees, so I've got a couple different kinds here, and you'll just have to cut your stems according to how high you want. Once you get everything cut and ready to go, you're going to put the furniture in first before we do any moss. And I like to hot glue the ends to go in the foam, therefore it'll stay in place. And if you don't use a hot glue gun at home, you can select another heavy style of glue. And then I'm going to put the little wrap around the tree piece in before I actually put the stems in for the tree. Then I know it's going to stay together. So I'm actually just going to push it down into the foam and hold it together. And once it's in there, then I'll hot glue the ends into the foam so it doesn't move. Now I'm going to put some of my tree in just to make sure that it's going to be tall enough and look right in the wraparound tree. So that is the first step. Now we're going to put the garden bench in, and that's going to be back here. Once again, I stick it in first and then glue around it. And now I'm going to put the bird bath in over by the tree. And I think I'll skip the bird cage for right now, and I'm going to put the little wheelbarrow in off to the side at an angle. And I'm just going to glue the front wheel in there. And then I will connect the little watering can to it off to the side. So now I have the major pieces in there. The next step is to put your moss on. You can use either sheet moss or Spanish moss, whatever you like the best. There are several types of moss on the market, so I use several different kinds to give it a different look when it's all finished. Let's start out with some sheet moss. And I use greening pins or S pins to attach the moss into the foam. We're just going to put this on to cover the majority of it. Once we get the birds and everything else into the garden, then we'll add some other mosses just to give it some depth. Make sure you tuck all the moss down in the sides. Since this has a see-through container, you want to make sure you cover depending on the size of your container and what space you have left over after you put your furniture in will depend on the packages of moss you need. Most of the time I purchase 2 packages of moss just to have enough to cover. And as you can see, I haven't covered everything completely yet, but that's where I'll put in some additional moss that isn't the sheet moss. Now I'm going to fill in with the greenery to make my trees. So I've got, this is just actually a moss branch, and it's wired so you can move it around to make it look more like an actual tree than an artificial one. Then I bought some other greenery just to do, like, just cut it down. Maybe you want to make like a little bush or something around the arbor. Just so you have a little more greenery throughout the... So I have most of the greenery in there now. Now I'm going to position the fairies, and then I'm going to decorate a little bit with the birds and the butterflies. So first of all, I'm going to put one of the fairies sitting on the wraparound tree piece. I like to have her out so she can be seen. And I hot glue the bottom and hold it in place until it'll sit by itself. The other fairy I'm going to put on the bench and face the opposite direction, so that way it can be seen from a couple different ways when you have it in your home. Now she's on the bench. Put this little bright, tiny orange butterfly on top of the arbor. Just be very careful when you're doing that. It has such a small section to glue, but it does pop on the arbor. I'm going to put a couple of bees down in the moss. And one over on the wheelbarrow. Now I want to add my birds. I'm going to put one in the tree and one on the bird bath. Once again, be careful when you're doing these little tiny birds. There's not a lot of room to glue on them. Just hold it in place until the glue sets. Now I'm putting the other bird in the tree. Once again, be careful so you don't glue your finger there. I'm just holding him in place a little bit till he sets. And now I'm going to finish decorating with different types of moss and just little trims. Got some little wood bundles, and I'm going to just glue one of these into the wheelbarrow. You can use whatever you want. You can purchase like little clusters of flowers, or stones. I use a lot of stones in some of mine. And right now I'm going to use some reindeer moss to just give it a different look where I need to have some dimension. And you actually can just tuck it under some of the areas. You won't have to glue it into place. So I'm just tucking a little bit in between the tree wrap. If you have any other little animals or miniatures of any kind, you can add those for a different dimension. But right now, I've pretty much got my fairy garden done, in addition to adding whatever other things you'd like to have in it. Thank you for watching.